October 23, 1989, Pasadena, Texas. On a warm Monday afternoon in late October, the sky over Pasadena split wide open. At exactly 1:05 p.m., a massive, thunderous explosion tore through the Phillips Petroleum Company's Houston chemical complex. The blast was so cataclysmic that it registered as a 3.5 magnitude earthquake on regional seismographs, shattering windows for miles around, and raining jagged chunks of steel onto nearby interstates. When the smoke finally cleared after a grueling 10-hour battle against the inferno, the toll was horrific. 23 workers were dead, and more than 300 others were injured. In the aftermath, the company's executives blamed a tragic, unpredictable technical malfunction on the factory floor, but federal investigators would soon uncover a far more disturbing reality. This disaster didn't start with a broken valve. Its true origin lay years earlier, buried deep within the ruthless, high-stakes boardroom battles of Wall Street. To find the real catalyst of the 1989 explosion, we have to look at what was happening to Phillips Petroleum in the mid-1980s. The company had become the prime target of billionaire corporate raiders, including Wall Street titans T. Boone Pickens and Carl Icahn, who launched aggressive, hostile takeover attempts to protect its corporate empire and buy back its own stock from the raiders. Phillips successfully fought them off, but the price of their independence was financially devastating. By the end of 1985, Phillips Petroleum was buried under a staggering $8.6 billion in corporate debt. Desperate to appease the banks and pay down this mountain of debt, Phillips executives launched an aggressive, relentless cost-cutting campaign. Between 1984 and 1987, the company ruthlessly slashed its workforce, eliminating over 7,000 jobs nationwide. But they didn't just cut bureaucratic paper pushers. The company systematically decimated the ranks of its most experienced hourly safety technicians and maintenance crews to fill the void and keep the plants running at maximum capacity. Phillips began heavily relying on third-party, non-union contractors, such as fish engineering. These contract workers were cheaper, undertrained, and turned over at an alarming rate. The stage was set for a catastrophe. By 1989, the Pasadena plant was a vital profit center, producing nearly 15% of the entire United States supply of high-density polyethylene, the plastic used for milk jugs and containers. At the heart of the plant were massive, 150-foot-tall vertical loop reactors operating under extreme heat and 600 pounds per square inch of intense pressure. During continuous operation, plastic fluff would naturally clog the base pipes, known as settling legs. To clean these clogs without shutting down production, which would cost the company millions in lost revenue, workers had to use a specialized pneumatic ball valve to isolate the dangerous gases. On the morning of October the 23rd, a contractor maintenance crew was tasked with clearing a blockage on reactor number 6. The mechanical lock on the valve was removed, but the pneumatic system suffered from a critical design oversight. The air supply hoses and the discharge hoses were completely identical and could be easily mixed up. During the maintenance work, the air hoses were reattached in reverse, while the control room indicators signaled that the valve was safely closed. The physical mechanism on the factory floor was actually slammed wide open by the air pressure. In a single heartbeat, reactor number 6 violently depressurized. Over 85,000 pounds of highly flammable pressurized gases erupted directly into the open factory air. A massive, invisible vapor cloud rapidly expanded across the facility grounds. Sirens began to wail, but the sheer volume of the leak meant workers had less than 90 seconds to escape. They ran for their lives, but many were trapped within the sprawling complex. The invisible gas cloud found a spark. The primary explosion tore through the facility with the violence of a military strike. Minutes later, the intense heat triggered secondary explosions as nearby 20,000-gallon isobutane storage tanks ruptured, leveling buildings and destroying the plant's internal firewater system. Firefighters were left practically paralyzed, forced to pump raw water from nearby ship channels just to keep the raging inferno from spreading to neighboring chemical complexes. In the wake of the tragedy, the Occupational Safety and Health Administration, OSHA, launched a massive federal investigation. What they uncovered shocked the nation. This wasn't an accidental mix-up by a low-wage worker. OSHA unearthed internal Phillips documents, proving that corporate safety engineers had explicitly warned upper management about the exact safety hazards of the pneumatic valves and the dangers of using undertrained contractors. Years before, the warnings were filed away and completely ignored to keep the highly profitable plastic production lines running. Secretary of Labor Elizabeth Dole publicly condemned the company, stating there was clear evidence that the tragedy was entirely avoidable. OSHA initially hit Phillips with a record-shattering $5.7 million fine for 566 willful violations, but following intense corporate lobbying, Phillips settled with the government. They paid a reduced fine of $4 million in exchange for OSHA deleting the damning word willful from the citations. The corporate debt to Wall Street was eventually paid off. The fines were settled, and the Pasadena complex was rebuilt. But for the families of the 23 workers who never came home, on October 23, 1989, the true cost of corporate silence had already been paid in blood. The 1989 Pasadena disaster is still studied globally to this day. It's a deadly lesson for factory floors and boardrooms alike, because corporate silence can happen anywhere, whenever profit overrides human safety. Thank you for watching until the end. Who do you think holds the ultimate responsibility for this tragedy? Was it the undertrained contractors or the executives who ignored the warnings? Until next time.